Thanks, Tim. Yes, so some of you will have been to our Wednesday lunchtime meditation class, and some of you maybe won't have. On that Wednesday lunchtime class, it's a going deeper in meditation class, regular one for members of the Sangha. So, if you've done the intro courses, been coming along a little while, then you can come to that Wednesday lunchtime class every Wednesday from 1 o'clock till 2 o'clock, the meditation. Then we have a discussion after that, based around what's happened directly in that meditation. So I thought what might be nice is to introduce some of what we do on that Wednesday lunchtime class to the Sangha night class. So if you are somebody who comes to the Wednesday lunchtime class, this will be a bit of a recap for some of you. Always a good thing to recap stuff. And for those of you who are new, well, you might be encountering some new ideas, new information, and new explorations, because it's a meditation class and it's very experientially orientated. Okay, so yes, I've called this the anatomy of awareness. Sounds a bit pretentious, I suppose, but you've got to have a catchy title these days, haven't you? I did borrow it from somebody. It was a title in a book that I read by somebody called Locke Kelly. Very interesting, good book on meditation. But it just appealed to me because, well, maybe we don't think about awareness having an anatomy. Well, maybe we don't think about awareness much at all, which I'm going to explore that a little bit, actually. The idea of whether we really think about awareness. But anatomy, anatomy, this word suggests a structure or a shape. So, you get the anatomy often refers to the body, isn't it? We're looking at the body. So, but anatomy is also, it's a discovery of how, with the body, how the body actually is. So, the study of anatomy started, well, who knows when people first started, cutting up bodies to see what was actually inside. So I'm not suggesting we cut up awareness, but, we're going to have a look inside and see what's actually there. So it appealed to me, this anatomy of awareness title. Yeah. So I'm going to give a bit of an intro talk today, just to sort of kick a few ideas around, and then we'll explore it over the next 4 weeks, including this week, for the rest of July. And we'll look at various different elements. So what we're going to look at today is awareness, just awareness being here. Is awareness just here, or is awareness something we, as it were, have to go looking for? We'll also, in other weeks, look at some of the qualities of awareness. We'll look at what I'm going to call the interactive or mobile aspect of awareness, which is maybe more similar to the word that we're more used to, this word mindfulness. I chose deliberately not to use the word mindfulness, partly because I actually don't like it. The reason I don't like it is because I find it's confusing. Because to me, the mind refers to the thinking mind. And I think in Buddhism, this is quite confusing sometimes, because Buddhism talks about mind and is often using mind to refer to something that's more like awareness, sort of mind with a capital M, you could say, as opposed to mind with a small m, which I would consider to be the thinking mind, or, sometimes referred to as the selfing mind. So to say mindfulness to me, sounds like, well, no, I'm not trying to be full of mind. I'm trying to be full of awareness. So that's my objection to the word mindfulness. But, you know, they're just words. And we're going to have a look also over the course of the coming 4 weeks at the body particularly, and how we kind of mentally construct the body. And we don't necessarily have a direct experience or direct knowledge of the body. But that having a direct knowledge of the body is a point of access into meditation. So we'll having a look at that. And then we'll come on to looking a bit more at absorption in meditation and the elements of absorption in meditation, which will come out of the exploration we do of the body, and particularly what are called the dhyana factors. So absorption or dhyana, that has elements to it, and we'll be finding those elements in our direct experience. And I'm hoping that will help with your meditation practice that you're doing, which is, you know, things like the mindfulness of breathing and the metta bhavana. So yeah, it's quite a lot in 4 weeks in a way. Bit of a crash course of what we've been doing over a whole term, or more actually, at the Wednesday lunchtime class. And, you know, just to say, we'll be exploring it experientially. So that's the emphasis. And we'll do that through a series of led meditations and explorations, direct explorations of our experience through little exercises and things. Okay. So I'm probably going to talk for a little while, and then we're going to have a break for 5 minutes, and then we're going to come back and do, well, we're going to come back and do a non-meditation, you could say. I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. Yeah. So yeah, maybe it's true to say that we're not often aware that we are aware. Yeah. It's strange because, you know, if you ask somebody in the street, you know, and you were a student doing a survey, standing on the Gloucester Road, asking people, excuse me, would you say that you were aware? I mean, people, if they understood the question correctly, I mean, they say, well, yeah, of course I'm aware. Of course I'm aware. But perhaps we're not always very aware of this quality of our experience, awareness. But without awareness, you know, what is it that we actually experience? I mean, awareness accompanies all of our experience. By definition, you know, if we're not aware of it, well, it's not in our experience. We don't experience it. And awareness, I'm going to say, is something that is just there. Well, at least, it's there every morning when we wake up. You know, the first moment of waking is a moment of awareness. We're aware of whatever it is, you know, the light coming in. Well, we're aware of a whole plethora of things all at once. But awareness is there, you know, from the moment we wake up. In fact, it's there when we're asleep as well. You know, otherwise, you know, you wouldn't wake up for your alarm when it went off in the morning. There's still awareness there. The mind sense might have gone to sleep, thank God, give it a rest. But, you know, the rest of our awareness is our senses is still there. Yeah, so it's very much, awareness is very much like the sun. You know, it comes up every morning and it illuminates everything. You know, it illuminates the birds, the trees, the buildings, people's faces, but also, you know, the rubbish in the gutter. It illuminates everything, the sun. And it's indiscriminately, it illuminates everything. So the sun doesn't distinguish, you know, what it alights upon. Every object, it illuminates equally. Like I said, it illuminates people's faces and the mountains, but it also illuminates fag butts in the gutter. So awareness is like that. At least that's how it seems. It illuminates all of our experience indiscriminately. Or at least, up to a point, and then perhaps something else happens. Yeah. I mean, you can even say that it illuminates everything the sun illuminates, which is interesting. Yeah, it applies to all our internal experience as well. So without awareness, there is no hearing, no smelling, no tasting, no sensing, no feeling, no registering of emotion, no registering of thought. And all of this happens without any effort at all. Awareness is just there. We don't have to try to be aware when we wake up in the morning. It's just there. We're seeing things, we're hearing things, we're tasting things, we're feeling things, we're noticing thoughts. And, perhaps this is miraculous. I don't know. I mean, perhaps we could just as well not be aware. Who knows? So it's strange. I think it's strange that we're, as human beings, we're often not really aware that we're aware most of the time. So, why might that be? Is it that we take awareness for granted? Well, probably. And when we first encounter becoming conscious of awareness, which, might be when we come along to, say, the Buddhist center or meditation for the first time and do the mindfulness of breathing, we soon notice that simply being aware is not so straightforward. We try to do the mindfulness of breathing. There's the breath. It's clearly there to be experienced. Someone says, follow your breathing. Probably we do it for a while, and then we notice that we wander off. And where is it that we wander off to? Well, this comes back to the mind with a small m. Mostly we wander into the mind. So attention goes from attention on the breath to attention usually into some sort of thinking process. Or, we fall asleep. That's another option. Or the mind wanders into some sensory experience. It doesn't want to stay in the place that it is. It either wants to kind of go out, sort of reach out from itself, or it usually, if it's not doing that, it's trying to push away from the experience. There's something that it doesn't want that's happening in experience. Or it shoots up into a whole stream of supercharged thoughts, or it sinks down into a sleepiness as if it wants to switch off from what's going on. So I would say in that experience, what is basically happening is that we are splitting off from our experience. So the thinking, emoting mind with a small m, from an early age splits reality up. It splits experience up. It splits life up. Previous to that point, it seems, when we were very young children, it didn't really do that. Partly, I think, because we are in a state where we don't have a knowledge of objects. So we don't have, for instance, language. And then, we start to pick that language up, and probably it starts with our mother calling us by our name. She keeps calling us by our name. And, this starts to become a separate object. We experience it as a separate object. And that process, goes on, and the sophistication of the mental models that we create in order to deal with reality. And it's quite possible that this splitting of the mind, or splitting of awareness, is an evolutionary function that helps with our survival. But it has some consequences to it. And the basic split that it makes is between ourselves and the world. So, with that naming of this here, we tend to think of this as a separate object, and the world out there as separate from this. And you could say that the conscious process of the collapsing of this splitting, or returning to the natural state of awareness, is the purpose of the spiritual life. So meditation, apart from its benefit in terms of mental and physical health and well-being, and things like personal and psychological development, what you could call becoming more truly human, those aspects that meditation is an aid for us, within spiritual practice to move towards. It can also, through the practice of meditation, give us some taste of a sense of going beyond this separation, and this is the reason why within meditation, it can be very deeply satisfying. And we talk about this within Sri Ratna as a process of integration. But beyond that, ultimately, it's a process of spiritual insight as well. It leads in the same direction, you could say, that spiritual insight is going. It's not that through meditation there is, or when we meditate, there's spiritual awakening itself. Well, there might be, that might arise, but we can have this experience of non-separation as we start to become absorbed in the object, the awareness and the object coming together. There's a unifying and a non-separation of our experience, albeit somewhat, temporary within that meditation practice. Anyway, as my niece is fond of saying, used to say it when my sister-in-law used to ramble, her mother used to ramble on too much. You go, anyway. So yes. So I've been saying here that awareness is here, that it can become obscured by various hindrances that are in the end a manifestation of this sense of separation, what could be called the small self. But what is awareness? And what is this thing that the Buddhists are so keen on developing? Is awareness some kind of thought? Is awareness feeling? Is awareness a way of perceiving things? Is awareness the body? Is awareness the mind? what is it? Well, maybe we can sort of answer this question. Maybe we can't. So yeah, okay. Let's have a little think about it. So is awareness thinking? Well, we've just said that thinking is something that can obscure awareness. I mean, there's all sorts of thinking. Some thinking can be very creative and help us into a state of awareness as well. But a lot of our thinking is what's, drawing us off, thinking about this, thinking about that. We're being drawn out into our thinking. So, thinking can't be awareness, because we tend to lose awareness when we're thinking quite often. And also, we can be aware of our thinking. We can, within meditation, become quite clearly aware of thoughts arising and passing away. And it appears, more like that thoughts are something that arise in awareness. So what about other aspects of our experience? Is the body awareness? Or are the body and awareness the same thing? Well, we know we have a body because we can see it, or at least some of it. We never actually see all of it. And we're also aware of the body from the inside. So we can become aware of sensations that correspond to the body or seem to correspond to the body. But again, if we're meditating, we're contacting the breath, for instance, and the mindfulness of breathing, it seems there's something there that is aware of the breathing. And whatever what is the breathing actually? Well, it's really a series of sensations that are arising and falling away if we look closely at it. Now, there's this idea of the breathing, that I breathe, air comes in, it goes out. But if you go beyond the idea of that, the experience of the breath without the idea is simply some sensations that are going on in experience. And none of those sensations has a permanent kind of aspect to it. It's constantly moving. And yet, there is something that seems to be able to be aware of that constant changing of the breathing. So maybe, maybe the body, as we experience it, is not awareness either. And I think the same can go for, the other perceptions, hearing, tasting, smelling. So is it the case that, being able to be aware of all of our experience, which manifests in one way or another through the six senses, including the mind sense, and the mind sense includes all emotions, all thoughts, etc. Outside of that, which, you could say is all of our experience, there seems to be something that contains that experience, a space, as it were, in which that experience arises. Anyway, I'm not going to get too sort of philosophical about this, because the whole point, I think, here is to explore in direct experience a lot of this stuff. Stuff being a technical term. Yeah. So yeah, what I propose we do today is have a look for awareness, just in a very simple way. So yeah, we'll take a break for for a few minutes now and come back. And you can go and make a cup of tea. Yeah, we'll start in the tradition of the great British worker. We'll start by making a cup of tea and coming back and finding a comfortable chair. So don't come back and set up for meditation. Just come back and, just as if you were going to take a break during the middle of the day with a cup of tea. So just come back and sit down. And we'll take it from there. So we'll do a little led sort of exploration of awareness. So see you back in 5 minutes. So, welcome back, everyone. We found a comfy chair. I managed even to get a cat. So, maybe I talked a little longer than I intended. So we'll see how meditation goes. But if there's time at the end, sufficient time, we can split into groups, or even maybe because there's not too many of us, we may be able to just stay in one group actually. And have a little bit of a discussion like we do on our Wednesday lunchtime class. Can you all hear me all right? Yeah.
You're a bit faint, Naravira.
Am I? Okay. Yeah, I had to let me see if I can do something about it. No, no. This contraption out of the way. Here, okay now? Good. Okay, so yes, like I said, we're just going to sit and, well, do nothing. Well, not quite, but we're going to sit here and just be aware. So you can have your eyes closed if that feels more comfortable. Just noticing what's here. So if we've got our eyes closed, some of the other senses are still open. Sound of my voice, any other sounds that are in the room or outside. Probably some of the senses, smell and taste, there's probably not much going on with them. There's sensations in the body that we can be aware of. Just notice it takes no effort to be aware. Sounds are heard, sensations are felt. Just let the attention go wherever it wants to go. If you have got your eyes closed, open them gently and just notice things coming into the field of vision. Again, we don't have to do anything to become aware visually. Notice that. Notice the effortless nature of simply being aware through our senses. And how we, in a sense, we're aware indiscriminately, or awareness is there indiscriminately, like the sun that lights everything. Awareness lights all of our experience. And looking in this way, Does awareness have any problem with anything that is arising in it? Notice if there is some seeming problem with whatever's arising in awareness, in attention. Is there some thinking process that's involved with that? So if there's some, say, disturbing sound, some sound that we hear, maybe that we don't like, is the response to that sound something that's coming out of our thinking? And by thinking here, we also include emoting. But in the bare awareness of that sound, or whatever it is that might be unwanted in experience, is there actually a problem that awareness has with it? So outside of the thinking mind, the reactive mind, is there just the sound or the sight? And if the reaction to any experience through the senses is there, see if we can just let go of that and come back to just the raw experience of whatever it is. Notice that in awareness, everything is just allowed to be. Like the quality of awareness is one of acceptance and receptivity. So not trying to be aware, just sitting here. You don't need to try to be aware. Awareness is simply here. It is accompanying everything that's arising in our experience. Not even trying to be receptive, not trying to do anything at all. So we may also be conscious of thoughts taking place, or certain feelings, emotions arising. We're not pushing these away, just allowing them to be seen by awareness. They are also just simply here. Arising and passing. An analogy can be like the screen, cinema or television screen. And all the time things are arising and passing away, images going across the screen. But the screen itself is unchanged. Or another analogy would be the blue sky, and clouds are forming and then dissipating. But all the time the blue sky is there, as it were, at the background of all experience. It's what the clouds appear in. Take a sip of our tea. And just noticing how awareness is there with that experience. Okay, so we'll just draw that non-meditation to a close.